Yes. Meantime, Democrats at this hour are indeed unveiling that new economic agenda. The Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi among the group of lawmakers rolling out their plan to win back working Americans. Schumer said the Democrats need to make it clear that they are the party of working Americans.
When you lose elections, as we did in 2014 and 2016, you don't flinch. You don't blink. You look in the mirror and ask, what did we do wrong? The number one thing we did wrong is not present a strong, bold economic agenda to working Americans so that their hope for the future might return again.
Let's bring in Bianna Goldsberg, Yahoo News and finance anchor, Shelby Holliday, business and politics reporter for the Wall Street Journal. Good to see both of you. So, Bianna, the Democrats outlining three goals here. They want to talk about increasing wages for the country's workers, reducing people's everyday expenses, give the workers the tools they need to compete in the job market. And they have been seen up until this point, if you believe the polls, as mostly the anti-Trump party. But is there anything new, different, exciting, something that's going to break through all the other noise that you see from what they're introducing today?
Well, once again, they were overshadowed by Russia and the Trump administration and whether or not there was collusion. Obviously, Jared Kushner even having a dig there, saying that once again, Donald Trump was elected because he had a better message and a better campaign. So Democrats were hoping to get their message out today, even briefly, on their economic ambitions going forward. And once again, they were sort of usurped by the Trump administration and its ties, potential ties to Russia. I think this speaks to a broader issue, though, and this goes back to whether or not Chuck Schumer and Donald Trump would and will decide to work together. These two men know each other. This was something that early on in this campaign and early on in this administration, Chuck Schumer said that he would work with the president on things like infrastructure. Obviously, the president, whether through his tweets about Chuck Schumer or whether through wanting to focus more on health care, sort of diverted away from that. So the Democrats are in sort of a wait-and-see mode. Do they do something on their own, knowing that they need some sort of Republican support, or do they wait for things to change potentially in the 2018 midterms?
We got a little preview of this, Shelby, with the Twitter from Chuck Schumer. Not quite as colorful as the President of the United States. He said, Democrats have a clear message. The American people deserve #a better deal. Is this going to work?
Well, I think if you look at the opinion piece Chuck Schumer wrote this morning that came out in the New York Times, a lot of the points he's making seem to be coming straight from the Trump playbook. He's talking about getting rid of money in politics. That's something Trump hammered on the campaign trail. You know, whether or not you believe him, he said, and it really appealed to people, he wasn't beholden to anyone. You also see Chuck Schumer talking about investing in infrastructure, paid family leave. Those are policies that the Trump family has promoted. He is talking about some issues that differ from Republicans in a sense that they want to increase regulations, break up companies if they're not working for the American people. But I would say that one thing that was really popular on the campaign for Trump's message was that he wanted to unleash American businesses. That really resonated with people, working people, all the way up to the CEOs of companies. And so I'm not sure that this message really clears anything up for the Democratic base, and it also does seem to be coming from the Trump playbook, which could be problematic for Democrats.
And Bianna, it's interesting that the president is going to West Virginia today because that's a place that was, of course, once Democratic. It voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. I mean, if those are his most solid supporters in a state like that now, where do the Democrats think that they might break through with this kind of talk? Ohio, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania? What are we looking at here strategically?
Well, two things. I think you're looking locally. I think you're seeing a lot of these sort of rising star mayors of small towns that are focused on their own personal issues locally, whether it be the economy, whether it be infrastructure, what have you, and jobs and training and education. It's interesting, though, that you mentioned West Virginia, because I remember covering the campaign about a month before the election and going to West Virginia, where they were soundly for Donald Trump, and you would see coal for Trump signs everywhere. And I remember speaking with a Trump voter who had lost his job. He had worked in a coal mine, and I'd asked him what about Donald Trump resonated with him, because Hillary Clinton did, in fact, whether you like it or not, whether she spoke about it enough or not, did have some sort of economic plan for out-of-work coal workers. He said, listen, I don't hear a plan out of Donald Trump, but I really do like the fact that he's focused on us and he's talking about bringing our jobs back. So there weren't specifics, but there was hope that they were relying on. So it'll be interesting what Democrats do differently now if specifics necessarily aren't enough.
And Shelby, in terms of the economy, so much of the way that the Trump administration decided that they were going to roll out what they were going to do was based on getting health care through, right? They were going to take some savings from that, for example, and they were going to use it for tax reform.
Right.
So, you know, you've got this health care debate. It's ongoing. The problem is that the president is going to be in between now and West Virginia. He's going to be talking to what he and his administration call victims of Obamacare. They like to bring out people who they say have lost coverage because insurance companies have pulled out or whose premiums have gone up significantly. He likes to quote the states where they have had big increases in premiums. But where is the health care debate going when you have a president who his spokespeople say he's going out there to really push for this, but we don't know what he's pushing for?
Right, and we don't know if he knows what he's pushing for, because he has not used Twitter, for example, or the press to really articulate what exactly these bills or this Republican plan would do for the people who voted for him. We haven't heard from the president details about how this would help American people. We've heard a lot about how Obamacare is failing, how he wants it to just let it fail. But it would be helpful for him to articulate some of the reasons why he wants to promote this plan. I do think Bianna's example of West Virginia is really interesting, and I would just go back to, will Democrats' plan work? You know, Democrats are in the minority, so all the policies they're talking about right now can't necessarily be implemented. They have no control over what happens with health care. They can just hope that the Republicans can't do anything with it. But I would say, going back to the special election in Georgia, I know a lot of people say don't make too much of special elections, but there was a candidate in Georgia who did a great job of expressing an economically conservative message, but socially liberal values, and that brought a lot of people, a lot of Republicans on board who were skeptical of Donald Trump, and they typically vote Republican, but they were for this Democrat. And I think what we're seeing from the Democrats today does not line up with that message, in a sense that it would not attract those key suburban voters who are educated, who tend to be wealthy. It would not bring them over to the Democratic side. And I think that's an interesting sort of split screen you have with the Democratic plan today. And what we saw was nearly a success in Georgia, even though the Republican did win that election.
And we're out of time, but there will also be the intrigue of watching Shelley Moore Capito, who is one of these Republican senators that they would love to win over, standing next to the president today. But I'm not sure, given what they're doing for a number of levels with these plans, that he's going to just be able to stand next to her and win her over that way.
But we'll see. He keeps bashing Republicans publicly as well.
Right. Twitter.
Bianna Golodryga, Shelby